Hello, YouTube. Welcome back. It is the Retro Game Repair Week. So I bought some broken games on eBay. It was not these. One of the games was this Zelda game, which looks like somebody put a fake label on there. But it is actually in pretty devastatingly horrific condition. When I opened it up, you can see that it's, I don't know, somebody probably dunked it in the toilet a few times. And then let it simmer. They've also removed the battery from it. The board itself isn't in too bad a shape. I had to solder this little jumper wire to get it to work because the trace is broken right there. Let me get like a little pointer screwdriver here. The trace right along that path right there is broken. And it goes underneath the board, so I just decided to solder a wire there to test it. And the game did fire up. I did see Link riding his little horse, but you can see that these are just pretty shot, and they've been like sandpapered down or something. And if I flip the board over, you can see it's even worse on the back side. Like there's just like this one isn't even used, but the rust on there is just insane. I wouldn't want to put that in my Nintendo anymore. And you can see some of the rest of these are just, it's only a matter of time before they're just toast. So I looked online, and look at that. That's just gross. I looked online, and I wanted to do a donor cart transplant. What that means is you take the board and you take the chips off the board. This chip. I think I need the CIC, and I guess you don't have to do the memory if it matches. That's the save game, the SRAM. And then you just transplant them into a new cartridge, and all is well, and the game should work, hopefully. I've never done one. This is my first. So anyways, the game they recommended was either this game, NCW, NWO Revenge Wrestling, or Ken Griffey Jr. Major League Baseball. I didn't have that. I happen to have this in my collection. But my friend informed me that this is like one of the best wrestling games ever, which may or may not be true. But partly I didn't want to destroy it. But then I got curious. You know, I was weighing the games. This was one of the heaviest games, and I went, you know, wouldn't it be great if this piece of shit right here worked? Because I see this game everywhere. I have 2 copies of this game, and nobody wants this game. It is just garbage. I mean, I think. Maybe there's some golf lover who's going to throw a fit because I said that, but this is crap. So I opened it up, and lo and behold, I've got it in there backwards, it is an exact match for the Zelda game. And look at that beautiful condition. And nobody gives a shit about Waylay Country Golf or whatever the crap it's called. I don't know. But you can see they are both NUS 03A01. NUS 03A01. So this is a perfect identical match for the board. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is I am going to remove the chips from the cartridge, swap them over, and then I'm going to boot this up, and hopefully I'll have Zelda that saves and works just fine. I will probably have to do the CIC chip. I haven't looked into that, but they can be very unique, so probably swap that as well. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this cartridge because it has save game data from this game on it. And if I boot Zelda with that, I don't know if Zelda can delete that information or not. So I may have to either desolder the battery for a minute so this loses its save, or I might have to go one step further and just swap the save games as well. But I pretty much would only like to just swap the pieces I need. The good thing about these games is even though this is a real crap fest down here, these things can almost survive a nuclear war. So they should be fine once they're up and going. And this wire won't be there anymore. The chips will be in there. So I'm going to... Oh, I'm sorry. We have a guest here. What is it? Okay. So anyways, I'm going to use this new handy-dandy solder-sucking tool I bought from Radio Shack. Yeah, I know most of their stuff's crap, but it's either this or like a $200 desoldering station, and I thought 15 bucks was much better to work on. So I'm gonna get started, and I will show desoldering a few of the chips, but I won't bother doing the whole thing. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So I've already done 2... little holes right here, you can see right there and right there. It works beautifully. So what you do with this thing is it's pretty cool. You just squeeze that, and you can hear the air coming out. You just squeeze the bulb. We're going to do a lower one here. You just put it over it and hold it there for just a second or so, and then release. And then spit it out. And as you can see, okay, the focus on the phone sucks. That one actually pulled the trace up as well. It shouldn't do that, but this board is so gross. So we're going to squeeze again, put it over, heat it up, release. No, I didn't get it quite. You got to make sure you heat that solder up and then release. And as you can see, there's still solder around it, but it's going to be loose now. So let's see if we can get the lighting a little better on this here, because it seems to get the worst angle. Let's try this again. We're going to squeeze. We're going to pick this one right here. Okay, let's try another one here. So instead of making you watch every single one of these, I will finish these and finish these ones off camera, and then at the end I will come through and I will show you how it pulls out. All right. Okay, we're back here. You can see I've done most of them. I left two last ones. This tool is pretty freaking awesome. As long as you let it stay down there long enough, it makes your life so much easier than using a solder wick. I will never go back to a solder wick, especially for through-hole stuff like this. The only complaint I would have is that your hand gets tired from all the squeezing you'll be doing, but it's not that big of an issue. So let's go ahead and finish up here. So I'll give it a good old squeeze. And we'll go ahead and put it down on the contact here. Let's sit for just a second. Little wiggle wiggle. Pick it up. Whoops, didn't quite get it. I find that I get a little better once I'm in a rhythm. Go ahead and set this down over here on its cheesy little stand that it came with. All right, let's go ahead and loosen these guys. Let's see. Look at that. The chip almost falls out. Look at that. Whoops. Hard to focus and do it, but just in case you missed the golden moment of truth, I'll put it back in there for you, because that's how easy as it comes out. Is it just give it a little tugging and shaking, and it comes right out. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful chip. There is part one of Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. And I'm going to go ahead and do that chip. And it's so easy. I might just do this and the memory chip just to transport it all. But maybe what I'll do as a test, so that if anybody else wants to do this in the future, is maybe I'll just do this, and the CIC, and I'll leave the memory chip, and we'll see what happens when I boot it up on here, whether it gives me error messages or if it saves just fine, because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but I can always turn it off and swap the chips. But anyways, there you go. That is how easy it is to use the Radio Shack solder suck tool, and how to take one of your games and transport it from a crappy piece of shit dead board to possibly something nicer. That really does a really nice job. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest. All right, the board is desoldered now. At this point, you can see that everything has come off pretty cleanly. There was a couple that were a little bit tougher, simply because they had bent legs on it, or they just I needed to heat it up a little longer than I thought. Here's all the chips I pulled off. You can see that for the most part they look like they're in pretty darn good shape. They should solder back on with no problem. I did end up taking the SRAM off, so in case I want to use it, I can. So now I'm going to spend the next, I guess 10-15 minutes is about what it takes me to take off these chips. I will just start with these two and the CIC, and I will leave these guys on the SRAM, and we'll see what happens. We'll fire it up and we'll see. All right, let's do that. Okay, so now I have taken the chips off of my donor board, leaving the SRAM, and so now I'm going to prepare to solder the Zelda chips onto the donor board, and I will be using my Hako for that. A little bit higher quality than this Radio Shack thing, but again, I didn't want to spend $280 for a Hako desolderer if I'm only going to use this occasionally to transport these cartridges. And you'd really only do this if you have a game that, you know, you've busted some of these pins off, or they've gotten damaged or ruined beyond repair. Otherwise, it may not be worth destroying another game just to have them look nicer. I probably could have polished these down more, but you can just see that they're not going to last long. They're just getting destroyed. Like, I guess somebody took sandpaper to them or something, thinking that would fix it. But you can see there's a lot of rust and corrosion, and even here, this trace pulled up off the board. So it was only a matter of time before this thing was in the garbage can. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and get the Hako heated up, get these chips soldered in, and then I will put it back into the Waylay or whatever Waylay golf course cartridge and fire it up, and we will see what happens. Okay, now we've got we've got one of the chips in place, so I'm going to go ahead and just start by soldering it in. And it's pretty much just as simple as this. It's hard to do upside down. There we go. So I just went ahead and just did one strip of them. I don't feel like making you guys watch the entire chip resoldering process, but let's go ahead and get. But you can see nice shiny bulbs, looking good. One thing I did have to do is I did have to hold it in with my thumb, and I had to solder. I had to hold it in with my thumb here, and I had to solder opposite corners because the chip kept falling out because it was so loose. There's probably an easier way to do that, but this is my first time soldering a chip back in. I also wanted to make mention of when I was sucking up the solder with the bulb, I would constantly put it over here and spray it. And as you can see now, this is all of the excess spray that came out of the bulb. Occasionally I would squeeze it twice to get extra out, because when I was desoldering the first board, there was a few times where I had exhaled the bulb, and you could see just right here in the center and a little over here, there's some solder splatter that accidentally came out because I either didn't get it all out, or I should have squeezed out here and held the bulb to suck in while over this. And I can probably just scrape this off with my thumb. It's not a big deal, but if you squeeze the bulb over your project, you will splatter solder onto your project, so be careful about that. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to jump ahead and finish soldering those in. I should do a pointer for this. Going to go ahead and finish soldering those in, and then this chip, and then I'll do the CIC, and then I'm going to fire it up, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we're all done. I did have a bit of a problem with this this chip. You can see it's at an angle. When I was soldering it, it kind of slipped out of the way. So I'll probably go back after the video and solder suck it, because I want it to be nice and straight like those two guys. And it's even that one's not the most perfect straight, but this one is really bad. Like at the angle it's sticking up. You can usually tell by looking at the feet. But these two aren't horrendous. It's just a little bit tougher without something to hold them in. But anyways, this is replaced, and that's replaced. I left this, so we're going to see what happens. We have our shell here for the Walele Country Club Golf, or whatever the hell, I don't know how you say it. So we're going to put our little black shield piece on here and line this up and scoot this over. This is actually pretty difficult with one hand. Okay, there we go. I'm not going to bother screwing the shielding in place, because this is just a test. I'm gonna, like I say, I'm probably gonna resolder that, and there's a possibility I might have to disconnect that SRAM to clear the save games. I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen with that, so we're gonna find out. Okay, we'll go ahead and click this underneath here, like that. All right, and now we should be ready to go ahead and give this a shot. We don't need to screw it together because it's just going to work. We'll put it in our test 64 here and see what we get. That's just beautiful. Let's go ahead and let's see what happens. Let's see if it dies because it doesn't know what the save games are not on it. Clearly you can see it's the Walele Country Club of Zelda. Please select a file. Well, okay. Let's just call it AAA, because I've only got one finger in one hand. And let's go ahead and start. I don't know if I'm gonna have to watch a bunch of crap before I can save it or not. It's been a long time since I played this. But clearly, the transplant was successful, which is pretty freaking cool. And this kind of sucks. Alright, so instead of making you sit through it and watch, I'm going to pause the video for a minute, and then I will get to the nearest save point and actually save the game, and then turn the system off and turn it back on and see if the save actually works. Okay, finally got through all of that intro crap stuff. It's like 5 minutes of just boringness. You can see that I am actually controlling Link and making him run around, and it's wonky. But anyways, I'm going to press start, and I can press, I guess, the green button to save. And would you like to save? Yes. Okay, game saved. So now I'm going to go ahead and click the power button. I'll pull it out too, just in case there's any kind of debate on, oh, you leave it in there, it just keeps it powered or some crap like that. I'm holding it together because I don't have my screws in there. But I'm very happy with the outcome of not having to use, well, even a crappy wrestling game, because it sells for more than this hunk of junk. I see this game everywhere. I have 2 copies. You can get it on eBay for like $3 shipped sometimes, and in pretty good shape. Just nobody wants it, and it just happens to use the same circuit board as Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is great if you need to donor board that and replace it like I did. I'm leaving it out for 30 seconds, so it's, you know, whatever. I would generally not say that you need to do all the stuff I did if you just have dirty contacts, or even if you necessarily have a broken trace. You saw the blue wire I had put in the board before. If that's all I had needed and the contacts were beautiful, I would have tucked the wire away nicely and soldered it a little further up into the cartridge and just left it at that. But the traces on the teeth on that were so bad, and the rust was so severe in there, I knew it was just a matter of time before it failed. And whether I sell this game later or not, I don't want the next person who gets it to have a game that's going to fail on him. I want it to be a nice, long-lasting thing. And about the only thing on this cartridge that won't be real will be the sticker label I will buy to replace this. I'll rip this off, and I'll buy a Zelda Ocarina of Time high-quality sticker and put it on in its place. And then everything else will be 100% genuine but that sticker, and I'll tell anybody who's going to buy that, because I'm not into ripping people off. Okay, so we're going to put it back in, and we're going to flick it on. Looking good. Controller in hand. Go ahead and skip this. Press start. And there's my save file. AAA. Beautiful as can be. The only other last thing that I would say is that it looks like you do not need to transfer the SRAM over. I'm not exactly sure how that works, since I never disconnected the battery from it. So either the game must check, and then when it saves, it just saves over what's there and it doesn't care. So if it doesn't see a header that says it's a Zelda file, it just does not care and writes over it, which is what I'm going to guess. That, or whoever owned this Waylay Country Club golf game never bothered to actually save any games on it, which would be hilarious, but not surprising, because I'm be shocked if anybody really actually played it. Again, I apologize to all you country club golf fans out there who love this game. So anyways, the only other test I might do is just create 2 more save games in the empty slots just to make sure all is well. But that was a successful rescue of a Zelda N64 game onto a new cartridge. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments. I'll answer what I can. I might even offer this service. I'm not sure. If you've got, you know, the cart you want restored and a donor cart, you know, I might do it for a small fee if you pay shipping both ways or something like that, because there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to solder. I have a nice little soldering gun, and now I have the little solder bulb pump, so I can do it pretty easily. It took me about half an hour to 45 minutes total, opening, resoldering, desoldering, and testing and all that stuff. So it's about an hour's work. So anyways, if you try this, good luck with it, and just make note that this game is a substitute for Zelda. You don't have to get the wrestling game or the Ken Griffey Jr. game. This is yet another one. All right, take care. Awesome.